What is up, y'all? Happy Monday. Excited to be here with everyone. We'll get this thing rolling here shortly. I know we're going to have lots and lots and lots of guests coming to join us here, but looking forward to sharing this with you guys. Let me get the share screen up with everyone, and we'll get this thing rocking and rolling. Cool. All right, y'all. I'm going to give you guys a quick outline of how today is going to go, and then we'll work in reverse from there. Welcome. The reason that I'm putting this together, and if we've never met before, my name is Juan Alcala. I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Michigan and the state of Florida. I am on this call with my partner, Eric Meldrum, and today we are going to be sharing our buyer presentation. We're going to role play through this together. I would love to share the recorded calls with you, but unfortunately that is not allowed, and I couldn't get any clients to agree to it either. They don't want to be on YouTube, which I completely understand. But what we're going to be doing is sharing our experience with you over the last essentially 200 buyer consultations that we've had in just over a year period. And again, introducing ourselves. So Eric Meldrum is my business partner. He runs our Michigan division of our business and participates in all of the operations, and it runs sales for both divisions, both in Michigan and in Florida. I'm dually licensed. We're co-team leads for the True Living Group, and we have made a business out of helping people buy and sell real estate, as many of you have that are on this call right now. And let us know where you are watching from. And I want to kind of just set up today, let you know what you can expect from this call, let you know what you're not going to get from this call also. For those of you joining, you should be watching us live on YouTube. That's where this is going to live. And as long as everybody keeps things sane in the chat, we'll be able to keep it on YouTube. So I'm coming to you up front ahead of time. Please don't make any mention of commissions in the chat. Okay. Don't do that, because that'll force me to take this off of YouTube. I'm doing this disclaimer right now. Does everybody understand this? Put a yes in the chat if y'all are with me. If you start talking about standardized commission and things like that, we got to pull it down for your protection, not ours. Okay. So I'm going to keep this generic today in terms of speaking of compensation. We are not going to be discussing specific forms of compensation on this call. I'm going to show you how to ask for your value, and I'm going to show you the language to use how to do that. I promise you, you'll get that from today. Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same call, but please, please, please do yourself a favor. Don't put it in this chat, because they're going to have to take it down. All right. Now, here's the first thing that I want to say. We're going to go through the structure before we even get rolling on this role play. We're going to go through the structure of how we use a specific framework to guide buyers through a consultation. All right. Just so everybody's on the same page, you're going to learn that today. And when this is over, I'm going to give you the ability to get a copy of our exact framework, including scripting, questions you can ask, prompts, those types of things. I've done it enough where I don't need that anymore, but I have it for my team. Okay. And we'll share that with you. I'll show you what that looks like. But here's what you're going to take away from today. Okay. You're going to learn the framework on how to do this. We're going to do a role play. Then we'll do live Q&A in the chat, so you have the ability to ask questions. Eric's going to be monitoring that as we go along today. Once we get in the role play, y'all, we won't be able to answer any questions. We're going to make it flow just like it does on a regular call. You should probably expect to spend the next hour to 2 hours with us. It's really going to depend on questions. The consultation themselves usually lasts somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and 15 minutes. That is a realistic expectation of getting this job done properly. Okay. Can you do it in a shorter period of time? I'm sure. But in my experience, that isn't realistic. Now, what fruit does this guy have on the tree that's sitting in front of you right now? Well, as of April 1st of 2020, we have, Eric, can you pull the Calendly account and just pull it up really quick? It's over 100 Zoom calls, or 90, somewhere between 95 and 100 Zoom calls we've done year to date with buyers moving to our area. Okay. So I just want to share with you, we're sitting somewhere around 15.6 pending and sold year to date, Eric, right? 20 contracts or something like that. And that's,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry, I can
sharing
get
this.
the mute. We have between Michigan and Florida, we've sat over 217 Zoom calls, buyer representations.
Okay. So, and well, it's 117 year to date. Not, you said 217. I want to make sure we're clear with everybody.
Yeah,
We're transparent here, right?
between both states. All right, we've sat over 217, 116 just in Florida alone.
Okay. Okay. So guys, a lot of calls, right? A lot of conversations with potential clients. And this isn't to flag. There are people who sell way more real estate than us, guys. That's not the point. I just want you to understand we are practitioners. That is the point. Please hear my heart on this. Okay. We're practitioners. We do this for a living. We love it, right? And we're grateful to be able to share this with you today. I am not your guru. I want to make that loud and clear. I'm not your guru. I'm not in here claiming to be something I'm not. This is what I know. From tip to tail, I know this. Okay. We know this game and we're great at it. And during that entire time period that Erica's talking about, we've asked everyone to pay our compensation. Every single one of those calls, we tell them what we charge. And during that entire time period, only one client has chosen not to work with us because of compensation. Only one person. And I'm sharing that with you because here's what you need to know. That sounds great. What a cool stat to be able to say. What a flex, Juan, right? Real happy for you. But here's why I'm sharing this, because for those of you who haven't built a business that provides value first before you make contact with clients, you're going to struggle in this new area of real estate. And I'm going to say this again for everyone who thinks that their life is going to be the same moving forward. If you don't have a way to broadcast, demonstrate, and provide value to potential clients before you ever actually meet them, you are going to struggle in the new environment of real estate. Okay. And if you didn't know that already, I'm sharing that with you because that's how it's going to go. But for those of you that do, let me just tell you right now, it's probably a pretty exciting time. It's probably a pretty exciting time. So, and today we're going to walk you through how to structure this properly, to demonstrate value, to win your client's heart, and to serve them at the highest level so they get to pay you and are grateful to do it. All right. Does that make sense for everyone? Give me a thumbs up. Yes. Let me know that you're live with us today. I don't even know how many people are here. And there is a lot of comments. So hopefully
we got a pretty good turnout. We got 76
live with us right now. Okay. Awesome.
Tuning in. So we're
awesome.
rock and roll.
So, yeah. And I'm grateful for this, y'all. And I'm going to walk you through this. I want to give you an understanding what this looks like, and we'll work in reverse from there. So let me get into this slide deck. This, just so everybody knows what's going on. So here is the framework. It's 6 simple steps. Okay. Pull out the notepad, get ready to rock and roll. It's 6 steps. And then you're going to see them in real time. Okay. So this is how it's going to work. The first step is building rapport, period. Okay. However that person got in front of you, I know this sounds basic. It may even sound trite to some of you. Right? Like, of course we know that, Juan. Yes, I know we all know this, but you know how many people skip this step? I see it all the time. As guilty of it as anybody. Okay. I've done this too. So the first step is building rapport. The second step is the big promise. Now, what do I mean by the big promise? The big promise is, what is that client, whether it's a seller or a buyer, going to get out of the time they're going to spend with you that day? What is the big promise that you are going to deliver on? Because if you do not deliver on the big promise, I assure you, compensation conversations are going to be more challenging. So you have to deliver on the big promise. Step 3 is you need to answer their concerns. You need to address the concerns. You need to get the elephants on the table. All right. And for those friends of mine who are very adverse to conflict, here's the first thing I want you to know. It's not an argument. It's really not. And when you let people know that you care enough to address their most dire concerns and the things they're terrified and afraid of, and you say, hey, look, I want to address those right away because I know that if we don't answer those, that it really might bother you the entire time. And I really want to be focused on you today. So let's just get those out of the way. So step 3 is dealing with their concerns. The 4th step, and this is a majority of the conversation. And you'll see in my outline later that I actually have it kind of broke down to percentages. That is obviously a guideline, if you will, not perfect, but this is where I spend 95% of the conversation is discussing lifestyle. And the reason that's important for you to know, ladies and gentlemen, is because I don't know if anyone has shared this with you. You actually don't sell houses. I know many of us have been told that we sell houses for a living. I don't sell houses. Maybe you do. We help clients achieve their ideal lifestyle. We help clients acquire generational wealth. We help clients live the ideal lifestyle that they have in their mind. And that is our only focus for the duration of that call and the lifetime of our relationship. Y'all with me? Tracking? Everybody on the same page? This is my favorite thing to talk about because this is the only thing that pretty much really matters. And if you get this right, this is the biggest domino. Okay. This one will knock down all other dominoes. It's awesome. Okay. Then as I put in my state here, how real estate works in X. I put Florida here. Eric would put Michigan there. You would put Virginia if you're in Virginia, or Missouri if you're in Missouri. X, Y, or Z. Don't care. Even if that client has bought and sold 15 houses, guess what we're going to discuss? How real estate works in blank today. Because we're right in the process of this changing right now. So this is always changing. It's dynamic, right? There are principles that apply constantly, but this is the focus. All right. And then the very last step is going to be our steps of service. How does a client work with us? And if you've done it right, they ask you. That's how you know you won the conversation. And this isn't it's not a win or lose, it's not a zero-sum game. But that's how you know you did this extremely well. Is when you get here, you won't actually have to say this, right? I find myself doing it about half the time, but quite often, if you've done it really well, the clients will say, "Thank you so much for going through all this. This is awesome. What is it like to work with you? How do I work with you?" Okay, that will be a common theme, and that is your go ahead. I'm good to go. Okay, I'm good to go. And now you can talk to them about how the money moves, which is super important. We are going to discuss that today in detail. Okay, we're not going to talk about standard commissions. We're not going to talk about what I charge. Okay, I'm going to say X and Y today, just so you know, because there's different ways to be compensated. But that is what is going to happen here. But when you get to this, we're going to talk about that. We're going to help them understand what it is that we're doing on their behalf. That is called value stacking for those of you that don't know. Okay. Value stacking helps you clarify to the client or the prospect what it is you're actually doing on their behalf. Okay. So when you ask for your compensation, they now have something to anchor it to other than the fact that you're going to open doors and write contracts. Okay, because as soon as you get lumped into that category, you have now been a commodity. You've been identified as a commodity. And let me explain something to you. You don't want to be a real estate commodity. You don't want to be a realtor commodity, because I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the average real estate agent sells one or less homes per year, and they make roughly around $35,000 a year. I have no interest in being a commodity when it comes to real estate. I want to be in a market of one. And yes, I use that pun on purpose. right? Because when I'm in a market of one or one, I can set my own pricing. And I have clients who are grateful to use our services because we provide that level of value and service that they believe warrants that compensation number. Everybody with me? Cool. So that's what you can expect from us today. Okay. So going back over our 5 steps, or I'm sorry, our 6 steps to service are: number 1, you're going to be building rapport. Number 2, the big promise. What are they going to get out of the call? Let them know up front. Okay. What should they expect from the time they're going to spend with you? That way they're not guessing the entire time. Number 3, you're going to address the concerns. You're going to get them on the table. We need the elephants. We need the gorillas. Everybody sitting at the same table at the same time. Number 4, and this is the big chunk, we're going to be talking about lifestyle. A majority of the time, you don't sell houses, you sell lifestyle, y'all. Okay. And if you got a different coach telling you otherwise, tell them, forgive me. I'm not trying to ruin what they're working on with you, but this is what we sell. Okay. We're going to talk about how real estate works where you live, whatever it is. Okay. You need to know this, y'all. This is your responsibility. This is where you come into play. And then you're going to talk about your steps of service. This is how the money moves. This is how you work with your clients. This is what they can expect. Y'all with me? Okay. This is so weird. I'm used to doing this in Zoom. So it's going to throw me for a loop today, Eric. But Eric and I are going to do a role play with y'all. Excited to do that. And of course, Grasshopper's blowing up. Okay. We're going to take this call just like we would with a client. I know Eric's on the other line, and I know that some of you may be thinking, well, of course he's going to say that. He's giving you layups. No, Eric has he's either given these calls for clients moving to Michigan, right? Or clients in Michigan, moving in Michigan, or he's been on these calls with me here in Florida doing the same thing. So he knows what people say. He knows the questions they ask. We're sharing with you the sum of that, if you will. What are these people asking? What are they saying during the call? How do we direct it? Y'all, I'm going to show you the whole thing from tip to tail. It may not look like what you do, and that is okay. I'm not in here telling you what you're doing is wrong. You may be doing something really, really right. I'm not telling you to get rid of it. What I'm showing you is what works for us. Just so everybody can understand that. Again, Juan is not your guru. Everybody on the same page? I'll make sure we're rocking and rolling on that. And again, we're going to be focused on each other, and we're going to be working through this. So if you see some things, because here's what I already know I'm going to hear from people when we're done with this. And I'm bringing this up because it's important before we move forward. Some of you might say, well, Juan, we don't do relocation. That doesn't matter. The principles of what we're about to teach you will work in person. And I know this because I use them in person. I use them via Zoom. I use them at a listing presentation. I use them at a buyer presentation. The principles never change, right? There's an old adage, techniques are many, principles are few. Techniques often change, but principles never do. And this whole thing is built on the basis of relationship, human psychology, and service. And I want to make sure anybody watching this understands our heart is in the right place. Our mind is in the right place. We are focused on the person in front of us, what their main objectives are, their goals, their lifestyle, like everything that they're focused on is what we're focused on. If you don't live in that space, you're going to struggle in sales anyways. And I know most of you know that. If you're here, it's because you're trying to develop yourself. But please understand, this isn't a got you. We didn't set somebody up. I'm not trying to do something that doesn't make sense for them. And you'll see that in this call. Okay, you'll see that in this call. So regardless of whether you think this applies to your business or not, watch it, learn what you can apply to your business. I promise you, the principles that we're teaching you will work. They will work all the time. They will work almost every time. Again, I don't have 100%, but 99.999 is pretty darn good after doing a couple hundred of these calls, right? And I'm so grateful to share this space with y'all today. So we've got a lot in the chat. Let me jump in there and we're going to bust right into this role play. Okay. And then after that, we're going to go into Q&A. All right. And remember, I want to remind everybody now, please do not make mention of standardized commission. Don't put percentages of commission in the chat. If you do, I will have to remove the YouTube video. Don't do it. Right. And that's not for me. It's for you. So do yourself a favor. Don't do that. Okay. Anybody in there seeing that stuff happen, shut them down. Please and thank you, because I can't control that. We're in a live environment right now, and I don't own YouTube. All right, so do us all a favor. Okay, are we excited? Let us know we're live in here today, right? Did you guys did you invite friends from your office? Like, talk to us about what's happening in here. You know, let us know that this matters. I know we're going to be on a little bit of a delay here too. So I think we got about an 8-second delay. So bear with us, but we're about to bust into this role play here. Are you excited? Give me a yes, I'm excited. Awesome. Can't wait to implement this in my business, whatever you guys want to do. All right. If you want to connect with me and Eric, you can do that. Our handles are on the screen. That's my Instagram handle. I encourage you guys to all connect with us. And do me a favor. When you do that, just don't follow us, because that's not what I'm asking for here. You don't even have to follow me. Send me a DM. Do it on video. I love video. Or send a voice memo. Make an actual connection so I can somehow relate you to the human being that just pressed a button. Please and thank you, because I love connecting with you guys. Okay. Awesome. All right. They're excited. They're ready to rock and roll, Eric. And today we're going to pretend Eric is a client relocating from Brighton, Michigan to Tampa, Florida, because that's an easy way to do it. And again, it doesn't matter whether they're relocating. Look at the signals. Okay. Follow along and get rocking and rolling. We're going to do that. We're going to assume that we just joined in. And we should talk about this, Eric, because people will ask. Okay. We force everyone to schedule an appointment with us if they want to work. This is important, and I almost walked by it. So forgive me. I will not have a consultation with a client, neither a buyer nor a seller, if they do not schedule an appointment with me. And I know people hearing that and they're mortified right now, right? They need to schedule that appointment with me. And here's the reason why. That sets intention. Right? It sets intention. If you're willy-nilly about people showing up to you or going to them, people will treat you like a commodity. Okay? Remember, I don't want to be treated like a commodity. I control my calendar. You have access to it as a client, but I control it. That makes sense for everyone? Yes, yes, yes. That is not an overlook. So we require them to schedule an appointment. That automatically sets the Zoom call. If you want to do these in person, you're more than welcome to. A majority of my listing appointments are all in person, but the process doesn't change. Okay. So we still have it scheduled. We go at the appointed time. We meet with the client. We're controlling the process every step of the way. All right. Just so everybody's clear. Now, the other thing I want you to make note of in these appointments, y'all, do yourself a favor and record the conversations. Now, how does that happen? The reason we chose Zoom is because we're able to record it just like we're doing with you guys right now. And if you are a professional, if you have incredible standards, you act in a professional manner, and you are really good at what you do, when you document that, it does a couple things for you. Number one, it gives you the ability to share that and train into your organization or share with other people who need help, right? Which is a huge benefit. Number two, it also gives you a tool if you have to ever go back and remind a client of something they agreed to that now all of a sudden they've got amnesia about. Okay. And when we're having compensation conversations, people can have amnesia. So sometimes you have to help them. Okay. And again, the goal is not got you, it's training. What did I do in that call that I could have done better? That's really what it boils down to. So here are some tools. Zoom calls. If you're going to do a seller's a listing appointment, you're not doing a Zoom call in there, right? I understand that. However, can you use a tool like Firefly AI or Otter to record the call? Can you record voice notes? All you have to do is ask y'all, if you're afraid to ask somebody to record the call, how likely it is that you're going to not be afraid to ask them for money? Does this make sense? Have posture. Posture is where you win. No one wants anybody who's desperate. Leaders lead. Professionals document. hey, I really want to be focused on you today. So would it be okay if I used a voice recorder? That allows me to stay focused directly on you. And if I miss anything after this call, I'm going to go back and revisit it and make sure that I didn't miss anything that we were talking about. That allows me to stay 100% focused on you. No one says no. Okay. Caveat. I have had government employees who have specific clearances who did not feel comfortable in that environment. So I do want to just bring that up. That may happen, but you guys understand where I'm going with this, right? Is that a nugget? I don't know if you were let me know if you are already using some form of recording feature in your listing or buyer presentation in the chat. We would love to know that. Okay, because my guess is not nearly as many as I think we should. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's get this thing rocking while we're waiting on those conversations. All right, I'm excited. Okay, so today's scenario, Eric is a home buyer showing up. He wants to move to Tampa, Florida. I don't know when that is, right? Well, that's also, we do that ahead of time also. We do have a questionnaire that comes along with that. I'll show you guys before we wrap up this call today what that looks like. No, Eric, should we show him now? Let's show him now.
Yeah, well, let's jump into it. We got a lot of people, people here waiting for the buyer's presentation.
All right,
what Juan's talking about is all prefacing like your funnel, coming into the marketing. So let's dive into the meat of this today.
Yep. Okay. All right. So Eric is moving from Ann Arbor, Michigan, or Brighton, Michigan, to Tampa, Florida. I've got some insights, but I don't have a whole lot. So we're gonna get rolling on that. I'm in the room usually with one of my agents on my team. If you're a solo agent, it's just gonna be you, and we would have our recording device in there. You're either recording it live on Zoom, or you're recording it on a voice note or Otter or some design like that. Just so everybody's clear. Okay. Eric rolls in the room. I will. Hey, he's in the door. Hey, Eric. And now we're gonna get rolling from here. Just so everybody's clear. Eric. So glad to meet you, man. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, it's Juan. Oh, I feel like I'm on YouTube. Oh, they look exactly like you do on YouTube, man. Thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
And now I'm blushing just like we do in real life. Okay. So that can happen. But Eric,
it always happens.
Yeah. So Eric, I got some notes here, my man. Looks like you said in your email you're looking to relocate to Tampa sometime in the next 6 to 12 months. Looks ideally. You got a family, and you're relocating for work is what I saw there. Is that still true?
Absolutely. I'll give you the quick rundown. But the wife and I have been contemplating this move for a long time, and we've been looking for work down there, and we've just been wanting to make a lifestyle change. But my job here is in office, so I've been looking for other employment in the Tampa area, and finally got a job offer from one of those companies down there. So we just haven't inked anything yet. We're just in preliminary phases. We're in negotiations on that. But family and I love Tampa. We vacationed there many years and just absolutely fell in love with the beaches down there, just the whole entire vibe. It's been about 2 to 3 years, that we've been really contemplating this move, and a lot to get my wife, to move away from her family and do this big lifestyle change. So it's kind of been slow process for us, but we're excited about it. We're just, again, in the final negotiations for the job offer. And then if things do go through, we'll be looking at making a relo. I think they said they want us down there, about August, September timeframe, to start. So there's a little bit of leeway there, but we can always roll that into negotiations as well.
Yeah. So thanks for giving me an update there. And Eric, forgive me as we're on this call, I'm going to take notes. Okay. So if it looks like I'm not paying attention, no, I am fully engaged in you. I'm just writing notes inside of my computer. So I don't want you to feel like I'm not paying attention, because we're not sitting eye to eye. But all right. So what I heard was potentially end of summer, beginning of fall. In terms of timeline, you're still waiting on that actual offer letter, but looks like this is going to be the one. And then you also mentioned your wife, dude, and you and I are sitting here, which puts me in a very interesting situation, right? So first of all, what's your wife's name? I didn't catch that in your email that you sent.
Yeah, Brianna.
Okay. All right. So Brianna, and you mentioned you have kids. How many?
We got two girls.
Okay. How old are the girls?
7 and 5.
Awesome. What are their names?
Mila and Chloe.
Mila and Chloe. Got it. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Any pets in the house, dude? Got giant dog or little lap dog or anything like that? Ferret?
No pets.
No ferret. That's good. Staying low drag. The kids are enough right now?
Kids are enough. We don't need any
That's
pets.
awesome. And is Brianna going to be joining us at any point today?
No, she is. It's spring break for the kids, so she's with the kids right now.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that you and I are on the same page, bro. I actually happen to have a boss too. And when it comes to housing decisions, we basically live where she wants to live. Would you say that's probably how it works at home for you too?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And
Okay.
then, she knows I'm having this call. We just wanted to get the ball rolling. She'll be fully involved in all the decisions for the houses.
Understood. So you guys are both settled on the Tampa area, which is cool. You wouldn't even be entertaining jobs if that wasn't the case. I understand. But when it comes down to picking finishes in the house, who would you say is probably going to be doing that work?
Oh, 100% her. Yeah,
Okay.
that's going to be her.
Just want to make sure I know who to check up
Yeah,
on.
I know my spot in life. Yeah, that's definitely her.
My man, and me too. That's why I'm asking. We live exactly where the wife said we are going to live, and basically we have the house, right? So I understand that. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And you got the girls. One of the things I want to tackle right away, since you mentioned with the girls, is the fact that you said August, September. Did you happen to know when school starts here in Florida?
We read somewhere that they started a little bit earlier. So I
Yep.
think like end of August was what I read. But that was one of my
Yeah.
questions that we have, and depending on the school system, obviously we'll narrow that down.
Understood. Yep. And we're going to get into that today too. I just wanted to make sure that we're addressing those. So, again, thanks for reaching out, man. I can't stress enough how blessed I am. YouTube, social media, all those things. You told us you found us on YouTube, which is great. It has brought us so many opportunities with people just like yourself who are considering moving to the area. And I want you to know that I don't take that lightly. Okay. This is I'm going into my 12th year in this business, and I'm just still continually amazed at what we're able to do. We really are able to help people live out some of their wildest dreams, just like you, right? You're making a lifestyle move. You said it. And the thing I want you to know is in today's call, my goal here today is not to sell you anything. Okay. And I need you to know that up front where my heart is on this, because while I do have a real estate license, and yes, I do get compensated to sell things, I understand that. But what we really do here is we help people match their ideal lifestyle with the correct communities. And what I found during that time, Eric, is if we do our job well, right, you'll self-select the community. You'll figure that part out, because we're going to guide you to the ones that most ideally match that lifestyle that you're describing to us by the end of this call. You'll go in and you'll check them off the box. Yep, this one feels like home. No, that one doesn't. Whatever it is, right? And you'll get to a decision. You'll be able to feel comfortable and confident by the time you're done with this call. Okay. But I wanted to discuss that because we consider ourselves a guide, right? And if you decide that Tampa is not for you for any reason, I want you to know that that is okay. And I'm happy that you learned that ahead of time before you made the mistake of purchasing a home or making a move and taking a job and relocating your family 1,200 miles away and making those hard decisions. And whatever that decision is for you, we want that for you. Okay. So that is the intent of this call today, right? I'm never going to try to convince you to buy a house. It's a terrible way to go about this business, right? And here's why I say this. I'm a husband, I'm a father, right? I live in this community, and I feel completely blessed that I'm able to help people move to this community who want to add to it, right? You're a husband, you're a father. Most people's concerns around this area are education and safety and those types of things. And we'll get into some of those things today. Just know, because I hold a professional license, I can't tell you whether a good school district's good or not, or whether an area is safe or not. But I can definitely show you where that information lives, right? And the way that I describe this is, dude, I'm not going to let you step on a landmine. Now, you're an adult. You and your wife get to make your own decisions. And have you ever been bumper bowling before, Eric?
Oh yeah, we've taken the kids. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
And they put those bumpers up on the side. Why did they put those bumpers up?
Keep you in the lane. Keep
Keep
you
you out of the
keep you
gutter.
driving. Yeah, keep you out of the gutter
Okay.
there.
Keep you out of the gutter. And that is my role. Okay. This is a 1,200-mile decision for you and your family. It is always going to feel like you're standing on jello. Heck, man, even moving locally, it feels that way, does it not?
Yeah,
right?
for
Is this
sure.
the right move for us? Is this the right decision? I understand. And that feeling really won't go away. But what I can do is I can help throw rocks in the jello, right? Think of Aunt Enda's jello mold from National Lampoon's Christmas, right? Where they put kitty kibble inside of the jello, where it gave you a little aggregate to stand on. I can help with that. Okay. So that's what we're here to do today. You on the same page?
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It helps me understand a little bit more, where you're at. It's like my shoulders have just kind of dropped because, this is a big move for us. And one of the reasons we reached out was specifically for the value that you've already provided and helping us navigate and understand. And we've already narrowed it down, to some cities based on, some of the information. So really appreciate it.
Awesome. Cool. We're gonna get into those. So I just wanted to share with what you can expect out of this call. So you're gonna, again, we're gonna talk a lot about lifestyle because that's the primary focus of what you're trying to accomplish here. You're making a lifestyle move. Number one, you already told me that. Number two, we're going to address those concerns that you and Brianna have. The things that you're discussing at night when you're laying there on Zillow scrolling, laying next to each other in bed. Yeah, I know exactly what we're talking about. We're gonna discuss those. We're gonna talk about how real estate works here in Florida, because I do have a little advantage of knowing how real estate works in Michigan because I moved from there, right? But what I know is all across the United States, there are some subtle differences, and those differences can be make or break for people. So we're going to discuss those today. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how we work with each other. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. Okay. So let's get into some of this lifestyle stuff that you're talking about. You guys said you're making a lifestyle move here. Was I got to ask this because was the original like decision to make the move because someone reached out, made an offer, or did you pursue it the other way first?
No, we pursued it. We've grown up in the Midwest our whole entire life, done many, many winters here. We've grown up and um although it's awesome, we have a ton of family here. We are just ready for sunnier weather and just, raising our girls year round where we kind of envision them playing outside year round in a community where a lot of other kids are, becoming the house where, kids leave their bikes on the front lawn. Kids are inside, like you're running around the neighborhood, like, where all the kids are in the neighborhood by where all the bikes are. Right. That's how we grew up. And unfortunately, it's just not like that where we live anymore. So we saw a lot of that in the Tampa area, some of the communities down there when we were visiting. So we like that, and that's ultimately what kind of was the nail in the coffin for us is that community feel.
Understood. And a lot of our clients that end up moving down here, we call them weather refugees. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't have to go through another winter, for like until Christmas, visiting
Yep.
family. All set, man. I'm good.
Yeah, and we that's what we moved here for too, right? I have that story. We were tired of the cold, gray, dreary winters, and we wanted to make a lifestyle change also. So that is exactly what drove us here. And we definitely you're going to experience a lot of that. Over 230 days of sunshine on average. Plenty to go around there. So thanks for sharing that with me, Eric. Now, what I'd love to get into now is what are those concerns for you and Brianna, that really kind of are sitting in your mind that you definitely need to have answered. Some of them that you may not, but you just want some clarity on, because this is we've done this a lot. I've been blessed to do this a bunch of times now, and we have the very common questions here, just like I'm sure that you do in Michigan there also. But like here, people love to ask about the hurricanes, which is totally fair. They ask about the heat, they ask about the bugs, and then they ask about the gators. All right, those are like the primary drivers. Those are like the big concerns. The and insurance, that has become a thing too. But what I've also found is parents really tend to focus more on things like education and safety. So I'm just trying to give you some prompts as like what we do here, and I
Yeah.
would love to hear your specific concerns, especially Brianna's.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing that we're trying to get a handle on is right what the biggest cost difference is, from where we live now and into moving into the area. I've seen some things about CDD fees and other community fees. Like we have HOAs here, which are fine. I'm assuming that some of those are probably similar to the amenities over there. But then also there is no state income tax, and the property taxes seem to be a little bit lower. So trying to figure out what this balance is, like how to calculate that. So, hopefully you can help me kind of look at that from a different angle. You're on mute.
Yep. So HOA and CDD fees, that's one. Anything else?
Just the cost of like insurance for estimates for homeowners insurance. And definitely want to stay out of flood zones. That's the one thing I saw from one of your videos. There's a lot of flood zones, which, I'm assuming raise your insurance as well.
Yeah. Okay. So yours are strictly, what I'm hearing you say are primarily focused on finances. What about Brianna's?
Yeah, well, we're gonna need to be in, the location to the office, about 30 I want a 30-minute drive time, so she's looking for, good schools in
Okay.
those areas,
All
right?
right.
Good schools and amenities, things to do for her and the kids, around town, good parks, access to shopping, grocery stores, that type of stuff.
Okay. Understood. So, how are you? Again, this comes back a lot to lifestyle, right? A lot to lifestyle. Okay. Eric, can you explain to me a little bit about the neighborhood that you currently live in? Meaning, on the schools that the girls have access to now, is that public, private? Like, because you mentioned schools. So, can you help me understand? Because what we found is we have clients that are their kids are in private or they're homeschooled. They're going to come here and go to public or vice versa. So, how important is that to you guys?
Yeah, we've been looking at both. So schools, public or private, depending on how good the public schools are, we would consider sending them there.
Okay.
We send them to private now. So, it's really just depends on how good the school systems are down there. Like, our school systems here are rated A, but I understand a rating A in a different state is really just relative to the surrounding
Yeah.
school systems. Right. So
Yep.
it's really kind of hard to compare. So I got to do a little bit more research there.
Understood. And is Brianna a Costco or a Sam's shopper?
I don't even know what Sam's Club is. We don't say that word in my house. So yes, Costco.
Understood. Is she a who's your grocer up there? You guys have Kroger, correct?
Yeah, so I'll just give you the synopsis.
Yeah.
Costco, Whole Foods, grocery store deliveries, to the house. It's, all organic, grass fed, clean eating. So
Okay.
that's r- primarily what we're looking for.
Helpful. That's
And
super helpful, man. These are part of those concerns that people have, right? Like, where I live, we only have one Costco in the county, right? So like, there's definitely a mindset of how far, we measure drive times by how far they are to shops and restaurants and Costco. So that's why I was bringing that up. And I found you're either like a Costco or a Sam's Club person. Typically, our clients are Costco, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, so to speak. So let me repeat to you what I said, and that way we can just make sure we got everything shook out. HOA, CDDs, insurance, flood zones, 30-minute drive time to the office is ideal. Schools, amenities, shopping, Costco, Whole Foods, clean eating, those types of things, right? So having access to a little bit more refined product is probably what you guys are looking for. Is that fair to say?
yeah, and the office is right in downtown Tampa. So
Okay.
within a 30-minute drive time of downtown Tampa.
Awesome. Now, the drive time thing, Eric, is where we've got this rubber hits the road thing, for lack of a better term here. Because, everybody's got a budget, right, of what they're trying to accomplish in their housing. And you don't have to give me that number right now, but this is where I find that we kind of run into some of those challenges here locally, right? Because downtown Tampa, there aren't any single family homes. It's all condos or high rises. And we haven't gotten to that yet. But as you move into the city, the real estate tends to be a little bit older, or it's a scrape and build, which makes it really, really expensive.
Yeah, we don't
And
wanna live we don't wanna live in the city. So I that's just travel time for me. I just don't wanna be a half hour
yep.
more than a half hour drive time to work. So, we wanna live in a suburb. That
Okay.
that's our ideal. Right?
Awesome.
So
Well, we can
any
do
any
that.
suburbs that you could, point us in the direction to, we've been looking at a few of them on the north side of Tampa. We've also seen like, Parish, but it seems like the drive times work. but I don't know rush hour and like, all those intricacies of that.
Yeah.
So anything
Well,
you
we'll
could
get into
shed
that.
light on.
I'm gonna pull up the map here in a minute, and we're gonna walk through those exact things. So that way you and I can kind of do it. But I wanted to get into this because it's a concern that you don't know that you have yet. So let me get into that. And this is the reason why I was drilling down on this, because um, what going into, again, the types of housing, what we tend to find is that um, while you can get within that 30-minute drive time period, there are a lot of people who we just run into, Eric, who don't want older housing. This is becoming more and more common in my world. I can't explain it other than a lot of the millennials prefer new homes. That has been a really, really point of interest. Now, we can do that in Tampa, but what I want you to be aware of is that product's going to be like 850 to 1.5 on average. And I don't know where we're at on that yet, but I'm just sharing it with you. So what I typically see people do is, rather than ratchet their budget up to a place where they're not comfortable, they're usually willing to give a little bit more on the drive time. So I'm drilling down that on to you a little bit more, because if we could get you a lot more house and focused way more towards your ideal lifestyle, would you be willing to drive just a little bit longer to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, uh, 40 minutes, would
Okay.
45 minutes would probably be the max,
Okay.
like 30 minutes is ideal, but 10,
Awesome.
10 more minutes is not the end of life.
Okay. And I'm checking with you because oftentimes the bosses are very focused on your drive time too. I know mine was, right? She's like, "We're not driving an hour to work." And I'm like, "What do you mean we?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm the one that has to be with the kids while you're gone 2 hours a day, right? That doesn't make any sense. Let's just figure it out." Right. So like,
For
that's why I
sure.
share that with you, because I know I've had that conversation before as well. Right. Okay. So we're gonna get into that. Thank you for sharing all this stuff with me. This is awesome so far. We're gonna cover CDD fees, insurance, flood zones. We're gonna go into that deep when we start talking about how Florida real estate works. Okay. So just know that I'll tackle that when we get there. All right. And then the amenities, drive time, schools, all of those things, we're going to tackle those right now. So, Eric, I heard you say some neighborhoods. I want to talk about those. I'm going to pull up Google Maps. We're going to go through it together. Right. We're going to talk about drive times. We're going to talk about the different areas, the type of lifestyles that they present. Cool.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. So let me pull up Google Maps right now. We'll bang away at that. Okay. So you mentioned that you guys have already been looking at some neighborhoods specifically. So talk to me. Where are you guys thinking that you might want to live already?
Well, we saw some properties like in um the northern part of Tampa. There was a couple neighborhoods. I think it might have been like Wesley Chapel, but that was a little bit
Okay.
further drive time.
Hmm.
But seemed to be like a lot of new construction
Okay.
over there. Um,
And is that where you're thinking you're leaning towards, is new construction?
no, not necessarily. I mean, I
Okay.
was I was raised to know that a house built in the 80s was better than a house built in the 2000s.
Okay.
Just better construction. I I don't know much about the construction in Florida, so
Yeah.
open to if that's the same as Michigan. So,
Yep.
but yeah, just it seemed to be that those are the type of neighborhoods with the communities and the amenities that we were looking for was
Okay.
kept coming back to like Wesley Chapel.
Okay. What are those amenities that you're talking about right now?
Um, really kind of like a clubhouse, pool, activities for the kids. It seemed to have a lot more of that, where some of the older neighborhoods just don't have those.
Okay. So you guys are digging the like resort style pools, clubhouse, playgrounds, those types of things, golf cart pass, bike pass, running trails, the things you're
Yep.
seeing in these master plan communities. Is that what's really drawing your eye?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. We can definitely do that. Awesome. So, well, you're going in the right direction in terms of where that is. Let me ask you the next question. How important is the beach to you guys? You said you've been here quite often. In my experience, what I found is people who visit the Tampa Bay area aren't usually going inland. They're coming because of the water. So, are you guys beach babies? How important is that to you?
No, it's not a huge priority as long as we're within like 40-ish minutes. That's fine. Even if it's an hour. I mean, we don't spend a lot of time at the beach, so it's more every day just having the sunshine, that we really enjoy.
Okay. All right. So we'll get into more of dry times as we get along with this, but I like where your head's at, where we're starting here. So I'm assuming you watched a few of our videos on Wesley Chapel. That's kind of what's piqued your interest. How much homework have you done? And like, what specific communities did you like dug into, if any at all? There's
We
no judgment.
we have done a little bit of homework. This was kind of the first call to get a little bit more information, and
Yep.
we just got the job offer, so all this is brand new. We've been looking at a lot of different places. We looked up and down the coast, but we finally got the job offer in Tampa, so now we're honing in, and I wanted to, really spend some more time,
Okay.
looking at this.
Awesome. Well, Pasco schools are in terms of the Tampa Bay area publicly, they're rated pretty well. Okay, so again, I've told you before, I can't tell you whether something's good or not. All I can tell you is what is public record, and they rate some of the highest in all of the greater Tampa Bay area. So you're tracking in a good direction there. I do know that there are an abundant amount of charter school opportunities, so semi-private and fully private schools there also. You have that at your fingertips. The one thing that Pasco is really investing in right now, outside of just the community developments, because there are a lot to choose from, is education. They're building schools like crazy. They're attracting teachers, because I know, because I'm the ones on the Zoom calls with them, relocating them to the area. They're hiring teachers like crazy, and they're continuing to invest in programs like STEM and Magnet. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with those programs. Also, Pasco County is school of choice, Eric. So I want you to be aware of that. No matter where you live in the county, you can get in the lot. It's not a lottery, but you can register ahead of time, usually in the fall of the year before, to go to one of these other schools that people are really trying to get into. There's highly desirable schools in every district in the country, is what I found from my
Oh, cool.
experience.
Yeah,
Is that fair?
that definitely helps open up a little bit more options.
Okay. So that gives you some different options. And what I want you to know is the type of living that you're talking about is happening in more than Wesley Chapel. Now, Wesley Chapel just so happens to kind of be the epicenter of Pasco County, because they've been doing it for 20 years. But there's a lot of other communities that are coming with as many amenities or more, and are offering very similar lifestyles, with maybe a little bit more refined product or something a little bit more budget friendly also. So just be aware of that. Okay. And those areas are areas like Land O'Lakes. They're areas like Odessa, and even Lutz down in Hillsborough County. And then we're about to break ground on what's known as Angeline, which is the Moffitt Cancer Center is about to break ground on a 760 acre research facility up there, which I don't know, Eric, if you know, I mean, you got the University of Michigan in your backyard. How many jobs does the U bring to town?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole entire ecosystem there. So
Right.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
See where
So
you're
they're
going with that.
breaking
Sure.
ground on this now. Sorry, excuse me. They're breaking ground on this now. So that's something that's coming up. And then San Antonio is another booming area. This has the largest man-made lagoon in the country, 15 acres up there. Did you see the video on Epperson, the lagoon we have in Wesley Chapel?
We did. We thought that was pretty cool. It just looked like a little bit further drive time than we were anticipating.
Yeah, and there's another one just north of that in San Antonio, which gets you closer to the highway, actually. It's very interesting how that works together. But let's talk about drive times really quick, and then we're going to get back into specific communities and those types of things. I just want to give you some examples, right? So let's just look at San Antonio, because it is the farthest in terms of distance from downtown Tampa that from what you're explaining to me matches your ideal lifestyle. Okay, so we're going to go to Tampa. And right there, San Antonio to downtown Tampa right now is 33 minutes. People see this and they think it's really far away, right? So 33 minutes was right in your sweet spot that you were talking about earlier,
Hmm.
right? So you can have access to that, to the largest man-made lagoon if you're interested in Epperson at all, right? You can have access to the largest one. Now, during peak drive times, Eric, because that's the thing that you're really calling for, right? Like you can see all this stuff on Google, but you want to know, Juan, what does it really take to drive there? Right? What does it really feel
Exactly.
like to live in
Yeah.
these neighborhoods,
I
right?
didn't know if that was like, 30 minutes during, non-busy, but like rush hour and all that
It's
stuff.
50. No,
Yeah.
it's 50. And that's why I wanted to share that with you, because in reality, in the real world, once we hit 3 o'clock today, 3:30 to 7 o'clock, that's going to be a 45 to 50-minute drive. That's the reality of it, right? So to share that with you. Now, if we look at an area like Wesley Chapel, specifically, Wesley Chapel to downtown, you got 26 minutes right now. It's pretty fast. But again, depending on where you are in Wesley Chapel, Eric, because you could be all the way over near Zephyr Hills here, that could still be a 45 or 50-minute drive. So I want you to be aware of that, right? Why is that important? Well, because you can get a home on the biggest lagoon or a home in Wesley Chapel and still have essentially the same drive time. If that
Okay.
is something that interests you, okay?
Yeah,
So you have access to that. Another area that I think that you guys should investigate is Odessa. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love about Odessa, it's been named the #1 master plan community in Pasco County for, I think, 3 straight years running. It's beautiful. One of the things I love about this is its proximity. So here's a good example. 31 minutes to downtown Tampa, and you can see we got a little bit of traffic there right now, which is completely normal. But here's what I also love. Are you going to travel for work? I thought I heard you say that earlier.
Occasionally, a couple, once a quarter, probably have some flights out. But
would you say that family's probably going to come visit you once you guys move?
yeah, they definitely will.
Awesome. So I wanted to show you how close you are to the airport. Right? You're super
nice,
close to the 25 minutes, which is super nice, right? Because I don't think you're there now. Ann Arbor to Detroit Metro is a little bit of a hike, right?
It's about 35 minutes or so.
Understood. Okay. And then I know you said the boss shops at Costco. So kind of want to show you a few of these different options you'd have. You're 21 minutes to Costco if you were in Odessa. You're about 20 to 25 minutes if you're Wesley Chapel, or 20 to 25 minutes in San Antonio also. It wouldn't be this one. There's another one up in Wesley Chapel, Lutz, at the premium outlets up there, which we'll get into here shortly. But I want to kind of give you a sense of what that looks like, right? So you can, when you're talking to Brianna later, you have access to this recording if you want it, but just so you can kind of be like, okay, this is where we would shop. This is what we'd look at. Okay. It's not right in your backyard, but definitely within striking distance.
Definitely further than we're used to, but if that's the only one, that's the only one,
Well, you can go to the one in Wesley Chapel, but I wouldn't recommend it from there. It's probably gonna take 25 minutes, and then it's going to be 10 times busier. So definitely not necessarily the same drive, but that's worth looking at also. Okay. You also mentioned Parrish. And I want to get into this too, because this is definitely one of those areas that I don't want to call it up and coming, but it is growing like crazy. Parrish, Florida is really unique. The thing I didn't show you on drive times there, which I should have, and forgive me, Eric, is it's roughly an hour and 10 minutes to Clearwater Beach from Wesley Chapel. It's now a day trip as opposed to let's just go to the beach. Okay. And I know that wasn't ideal, but if you do have one of the lagoons in your backyard, you're kind of set there, right? And you guys will know more when you take the trip down, and we'll talk about that later. But I wanted to share this with you because I know just in our conversation, your email online, like one of you guys' favorite places has been Anna Maria Island as an example, right? Like you guys like that beach lifestyle down there. But Parrish just as an example, last month there were as many homes sold in Parrish as there was in Wesley Chapel. And most people don't know about Parrish. What does that tell you? Right? It's a pretty good bet.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's a really popular up and coming area, but here's one of the things I absolutely love about Parrish. So if we go from Parrish to directions to St. Pete, which have you spent any time in St. Pete at all?
No, we've just been on the south end of Tampa, like Sarasota, Anna Marie.
Understood. Well, St. Pete is a vibe, man. It's a vibe. You're going to love it down there. But I wanted to show you how close you are to the beaches here. Now, traffic's going to be a little bit heavier on the beach. This is Easter week, right? So this is spring break. This is about as bad as it's going to get, right? Last weekend, we saw drive times of 45 minutes. Usually this is about a 30-minute drive. So there's a little bit of traffic going on there because of beaches, but this is a great time to look because you can kind of get perspective on it. To downtown St. Pete from Parrish, it's a 31-minute drive. That's a really convenient, close drive to be into a major city with great food, great dining. It's a great place to go take date nights. I take Kate there all the time. We love it. Okay, so that's an example. You're also only 20 to 25 minutes away from Lakewood Ranch, which is another great place to go hang out. Another master plan community. It's been the #1 master planning community for 5 straight years in Florida, in the country. So it's phenomenal. Also, if you wanted to go down to Sarasota from Parrish, you're looking at about a 45-minute drive of traffic right now. That gives you access there. Going back over to Tampa International Airport from Parrish, It's a little bit more of a drive, 55 minutes with traffic right now. You can make it there in about 45 on a good day, but I would consider it's going to be 50 minutes to an hour regularly, but that gives you access to it. But close to the beach, close to Sarasota, 45 minutes to downtown Tampa, 30 minutes to St. Pete Beach, 30 minutes to St. Petersburg. And Eric, it offers all of the identical lifestyle that Wesley Chapel does also. Okay.
Gotcha.
It's just not
Yeah.
as developed. Okay.
Yeah, it was the drive time to downtown Tampa that would kill me.
Okay. Perfect.
in
Yeah.
an
And
hour. Yeah.
okay. So we're trying to wrap our minds around all of that. So I think by the nature of the conversation, you're kind of self-selecting here. So let's start talking about specific areas and then really drill down on lifestyle, because again, ultimately what you're asking for, that is what we're building in spades right now. Right. So the ability to have, resort style pools, playgrounds for the kids, dog parks. I know you said you don't even have it, but there's dog parks in these communities. There are specific lanes for golf carts and bikes, so the kids can operate a little bit more freely, and you can too. You'll be in these communities, you'll see parents picking up their children on golf carts. It's definitely a Florida thing, but you're going to see more and more of that, right? Is that the lifestyle that you have in mind, right? The girls are out playing with other kids in the street, like that's what I heard you say earlier.
Exactly, man. That's really it. Like, I know most of these planned developments don't say they're gated, but it seems that, it's a very tight knit, community. Everything's kind of inclusive in there. And you got friends, and, if you need help picking up the kids from school, like I'm sure there's a friend or a neighbor right there that's going that way anyways.
Yeah. And that's a really good thing to bring up too. And I always kind of start here because I know one of the things that people don't necessarily share with us, Eric, that they are concerned about. They always tell us about the kids. We want the kids to have somebody to go hang out with. And then the adults don't actually share their fears of not having friends anymore, which I don't know about you. We were afraid of that when we moved down. We made this relocation move. We left our church home. We left everybody we ever knew. We knew it was going to be tough, right? But what we didn't know was we were moving into a community full of people who was also either are doing the same thing, just did the same thing, or did it 10 years ago. And because of that, the community was extremely welcoming, way more than we could have ever imagined. And that is what you guys are going to find. Obviously, I can't promise that you're going to be in the perfect neighborhood with all of those individuals, but overall in the community, Eric, when you guys come down to do the community shopping, which we're going to get into here in a second, take the time to go to the parks with the girls. Watch. Just engage in a conversation with someone. One of the first questions they're going to ask you is, where are you from? And when you just think of that, if people ask you first, where are you from? What does that tell you most likely about them, Eric?
They're probably not from there either.
They're not from there either. And you're going to find a lot of that. And because of that, people are very open and welcoming in our experience. Okay. So I'm just sharing with you in our clients' experiences too. So I know that usually can be a fear to overcome, and I want to make sure we do that. Okay. So for the sake of brevity in this conversation, real estate agents, I'm stopping here right now. Normally, I would walk them through specific communities that are matching that lifestyle that they're describing to me. You should do this in person if you're with a buyer. Okay. It doesn't matter if they're relocating or not, with your buyer client, right? Who is the leader? Who understands the communities better than anybody else? We do. If your client is dictating it to you, that's an order taking situation. And I'm not saying someone can't come to you knowing exactly where they want to live and you can't help execute. I just want you to understand that I'm still going to give options to anyone who is coming to me, right? Hey, we love it here. That's great. Even if they know what city, now we're going to drill down the neighborhoods. If they know what neighborhoods, now I can drill down the specific streets. Whatever it is, we can work in reverse from there. Just so all the agents know. Normally, right here, I would go into specific communities, actually pull them up. I would go to niche.com in live in person, pull that. Like, we do all the things to help people understand, right, what it is they're walking into or potentially walking into. So I'm going to pause there. Now I'm going back to the conversation. Okay, Eric.
Yeah, I just want to add really quickly on that. And the reason like the relocation makes sense to do that is because they're not familiar with it. Even if it's somebody that's moving from a nearby city or like buying and selling in the city you're servicing, It's really important because what you're also doing is providing that upfront value, right? You're reiterating why they reached out to you in the first place.
Yes.
Or if it's a call that, you know, you got an online lead, or it's a Zillow, or whatever, right? These leads are going to come from various sources. You're reiterating why you are of value to work with,
Yep.
right? Because we can go over all of these things. This is part of the service, right? And then we're going to get to how this ties back into
Real estate.
solidifying the
Yep.
buyer's representation at the end here.
Yep. So in that, just to Eric's point, if we're going into new developments, typical questions that will come up are, what is the down payment? Those types of things. I just want you to know that that will get handled in that conversation too. This isn't so rigid. You can't make it dynamic. That is not the point. You're there to listen, to be actively engaged with your client, just so everybody's on the same page. But let's get back to you, Eric. Okay. For the sake of conversation, we just looked at 5 communities, right? We looked at specific builders. We talked about different opportunities. We talked about resale versus new, whatever it is where you live, guys, you're the leader. Okay. But I'm trying to compress time here. So we got through that. Eric, we talked a lot about these different communities. I made a joke earlier about you and Brianna laying in bed at night, scrolling through Zillow, right? Is that fair to say you guys do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just homes.com and not Zillow.
There you go. That was going to ask you. And that was my next question is like, which one do you prefer? All right. So if you go to homes.com, can you do me a favor? Can you share with me an address um, of a specific property that you and Brianna absolutely love? If you don't mind, I'd love to put my eyeballs on that in real time with you.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me pull one up here. It was 16211 Villa Real.
Real? How do they spell it? 16.
VI 16211
Yeah.
VILLARREAL.
2 words or one? Oh, it's 1 word. Okay. Got it. All right. Villarreal. Got it. Okay. This is the property, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So let's take a peek at this
The
together.
first one that popped up.
Awesome, man. So here's what I'd love to do. I'm going to look through these photos in real time with you. Can you tell me what it is that drew your eye to this place? What, and most certainly Brianna's, because you already told me that this basically is going to be her decision, this part of it. But what is it that she loves about this property? What doesn't she like? So I can really start to get an understanding. So we can start to look at properties moving forward through your eyes. Okay, is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Awesome.
mean it was the exterior really caught our eye.
Mhm.
And then the pool with the lanai in the back was you know, a big deal, either having a pool in our backyard or having a pool in the community. So it doesn't necessarily, like, as long as the house is in a community with a pool, that'd be cool. But if we have one in our backyard, I guess that would be kind of a bonus.
Yep.
And then you know, just the overall layout, like having a very big, you know, master bedroom was cool. And then the open kitchen updates, you know, we definitely want it updated. We don't want to have to do any renovations in the house. If we don't have to, we're fine with like bathrooms and like updating countertops and stuff like that, but we just don't want a major renovation to, you know, bring an older home back into, you know, the times we
Okay.
live in today.
Yep, understood. The color pattern in here seems to be a little bit loud. Is that something you guys change or do you dig it?
We're fine painting. We just
Okay.
don't want to have like any major renovations on like new cabinets and stuff like that.
But let me ask you this in a different way, right? Does the boss want that blue paint or is she going to paint it something else?
She's fine with that.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure I'm on the same page. Okay, cool. So this was the pool you made mention of, the outdoor space. Is it just a pool or like, you know, it's got a spa here also. It's got the covered lanai. We call this a bird cage, by the way, here in Florida. So if you hear that term, that's what people are talking about is the screened in patio.
Yeah,
Obviously a place for
we could
dining.
do without the hot tub. Like the pool is great. Like this whole setup, it would be like a dream. You know, obviously this is a really nice setup.
Yep.
But as long as we had a pool that's connected, you know, to the house,
Mhm.
that's really the main feature.
It's got a great yard too. Is that important to you guys?
Um, it goes back to the community. As long as, like, if the community has parks and the kids are playing outside, like in the street, like I'm less concerned about the backyard. Obviously, this would be great, but as long as the community has places for the kids to go and play that's nearby, they can ride their bikes to, we're okay with that.
Okay, understood. And the reason that I asked that, Eric, is because a lot of these new construction developments that we were just talking about, their lot sizes are nowhere near this property, right? I mean, they're literally going to be 80 feet wide max. A lot of them are only 70 feet wide, but they do have access to all of the other things in the community. So that's why I was asking that specifically. Okay. All right. Well, that gives me some insights. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I'm going to save that and put it in my notes. That way we're on the same page. And the team can look at it again. The goal here is to look through everything through your guys' eyes. All right. So talk to me. Are you guys planning on coming back down to spend a couple days with us? Are you spending a week? You come in on vacation? Help me understand when we're going to be able to spend some time. But more importantly, you're going to be able to do some community shopping.
Yeah, so we have a trip planned in next month to come. Assuming everything gets solidified with the job offer here over the next week or so, we're going to be traveling in the next month to really start looking at schools, some of those communities. And I think the HR rep said we would have at least 2 to 3 more trips that are paid for by the company, to come down there. So we should be good. We've spent enough time there to kind of know what we're looking for. I would assume, 1 to 2, maybe 3 trips, we'd be settled on mostly everything.
Okay. Got it. Understood. And the property we just looked at, budget there was 3.7. That's what their asking price is. I mean, is that in budget or is that just the unicorn house if all houses cost $1?
Yeah, that was the unicorn. We're probably that was the first one that pulled up on homes.com. So we are probably, we'd like to stay, north of or south of 1.2,
Okay.
if we can. That'd be ideal.
Okay. And 1.2 is an ideal budget, but you're open to value opportunities too. I know you said you don't want to get into rehabs. I heard that loud and clear, right? Ideally, this is turnkey move in. But if we can find something that makes sense and it feels like a really good deal, do you want me to bring that to you, or am I only hunting unicorns?
Yeah, I mean, if the right home is out there, and it needs some work, in a great community, which I'm assuming a lot of the communities that we're looking at have been built in the last like 5 to 10 years. So I don't
Hmm.
assume any of them are going to need that much work. So that's kind
Yep.
of where I kind of landed on that, is like, we're fine doing countertops and like changing out paint, and that's all preference stuff, for us. And if one's available for 700, 800, absolutely bring it to me.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. This, I learned a hard lesson at one point in my career, Eric. I had a client who, gave me a budget number. And you know how I told you earlier, this is about you, right? Like, this is about you guys, your dream. You're the hero of this journey, right? Not us. My goal here is not to spend all of your money. My goal is to help you accomplish your lifestyle goals, right? And if we do that well, you'll tell everybody about us. And that's how we win, right? And what I've learned over time is, like, we help you move, the parents move afterwards. And if we do it well, you keep telling everybody that we're the only answer. And I'm grateful for that, right? But I've learned some hard lessons in this business too. I had a client one time give me a budget. And when I was a young agent, I didn't understand all the nuances of human behavior. I'm going to be honest with you. And he gave me a budget of it was $480,000 was his budget. And when we spoke, and I had a call just like this, he said, "Juan, I will not spend $1 over that number." That was this conversation to me. And I'm going to be respectful of your budget, Eric. You told me 1.2. I don't want to be the person who's trying to push you to 1.5, knowing that you said 1.2. Okay. So I'm sharing that with you because that's how I want to treat this relationship. However, however, that client, we met at a property. His wife absolutely wanted that property, and it was starting at 480. It had multiple offers. He asked me what it was going to take to get that property. I told him. He said he didn't want to do it. No problem, not a big deal. We ended up writing the offer the way he wanted it wrote. He didn't get the property accepted, which is okay. Everybody's got their limit, right? But a year later, Eric, that client came back to me and literally said, "I made a mistake. I wish I would have just listened to you and bought that house at the price you recommended. And I think I was 514 was the winning offer on that property, by the way. And I'm sharing this example because he was so devastated by this, and his wife had not let it go, which is the really important part of this lesson that I learned here. His wife would not let it go. I went and wrote an offer and knocked on that person's door who just bought that house a year earlier and made a cold offer to that human being, right? To that couple. They were like, yeah, we appreciate that, but we've done X, Y. We're not going anywhere. We love this place, right? And he was devastated. And I'm bringing that to you because I've heard you say we're willing to make adjustments. We're willing to do X, Y, and Z. If we found the unicorn, and let's just say, as an example, it was 1,250,000, Eric, do you want me bringing you that opportunity, or do you want me to just ignore it and stick to your 1.2? Because what I found is typically there's a little flexibility in that conversation if the unicorn arrives.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. 1.25, like 1.3 would be like our hard, like we can't go any higher than that,
But that's got to be the right one.
It's got to be like
Understood.
perfect, no nothing like, and it's that's really kind of stretching it. I mean, that would have to be like a really hard sell to me.
Yep.
But 1.2 we're comfortable. 1.225, yeah, bring it to me.
Understood. So from what you're explaining to me and what I know about our market, you're going to be in that probably 9 to 1.2 range. That's probably where you're going to land. Just a heads up, right? But there may be that unicorn, and thank you for giving me permission, right, to have that conversation with you and really help us understand where you're actually positioned. Because again, my goal is not to get there, but if it is, I don't want you to be like, why didn't you show me the property? Right? That's a conversation I don't want to have. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Okay, cool. Now I want to get into how real estate works here in Florida, Eric. And the first thing I want to do, I don't want to just make assumptions. I run into a lot of clients who are very well educated. They're sharp. They got a really good head on their shoulders, and they've been doing a lot of homework and research up front, right? Or they've got family in the area. They've had conversations. What if any do you know about how real estate works here in Florida?
Not really much outside of buying and selling. No.
Understood. And you had some concerns earlier that we're going to answer in detail coming up right now, just so you know, so you can kind of check those off your notes list. Because I know we covered Costco and drive time and shopping in schools today and community. So I'm getting into those the money things that you were talking about earlier. And thanks for sharing with me. Now here's what I know. I have the benefit of knowing exactly how real estate works in Michigan. I'm licensed there and I moved from there. But let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, every agent watching, I don't know. And I always ask, right? And the way I do that is how I position it. So Eric, this is how real estate works here in the state of Florida. There are some important things for you to understand that may be different than where you live now. Okay. Now, one of the examples I want to give you, and agents, I want you to take note of this. You have nuances and subtleties about where you live that is important. This is where your value shines through. Okay. It's where your value shines through. All right. So Eric, I don't know exactly how real estate, works in Michigan, but I have some insights, right? It's pretty similar across the United States, but there are nuances. And what I've found in my experience, Eric, is those nuances can make or break deals. They can make or break your living expenses. They can make or break how you feel about a community. And we want to make sure that you're in the right spots and you have a clear understanding of what this is going to look like. That way you can be comfortable and confident when you hit the closing table. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So here's the first thing I want you to know. There are going to be some inspections here. If you were going to mortgage this property, which you did tell me you're going to mortgage a portion of this, you're going to put a big chunk down. I know we skipped that step, y'all, but we have that conversation when we're talking about houses. Okay. So this is going to be mortgaged. Here's what you need to know. In order for you to get insurance on this home, right, you have to pass what's known as a wind mitigation inspection and a 4-point inspection. The private inspection that you probably had when you bought your home, is that fair? Did you have an inspection on your house?
Yeah, when we had a private home inspection. Yeah.
Right. And we recommend that you do that also. I don't ever counsel a client to not have a private inspection on a property, but that one is not required by the mortgage company. So this is why we're talking about those subtleties and nuances, right? The wind mitigation and the 4-point inspection are. Now, let me explain to you what those mean. Wind mitigation means that they're going to look at the systems in the roof, right, and the house that are going to be faced with strong winds. We deal with hurricanes here in the state of Florida, right? Homes have to be able to withstand a certain amount of wind shear in order to pass this exam, right? And they check things like the hurricane straps in the roof. Now, I don't think you have hurricane straps in your roof, or no one checked for those when you bought your home, right?
I don't remember hearing anything about those.
But they,
So
they are
that's
super
helpful.
important here, right? Because, if 150-mile-an-hour wind comes across your house, they want to make sure that the roof is not going to blow off like Annie M in Toto, right? Like, and going back to the Wizard of Oz. So they need to be strapped down to the house. So the wind mitigation is one component of it. The 4-point inspection is the 4 most important zones of your home, the 4 most important areas, which are going to be the roof and structural. They're going to be the electrical, plumbing, and mechanical, which is basically what you probably had looked at during your private inspection, right? Those are the important things to you. Your roof, your HVAC, you have heat. We don't have heat, right? But like your electrical and your plumbing, that's normal. But here, those have to be signed off on by a licensed inspector. Okay. And I don't think Michigan, they have to be licensed to inspect your homes. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not sure on that. I don't think so.
Right.
We just
Most
called
places,
the
they don't.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I bring that up. But here, in order for you to get insurance, Eric, those systems have to pass. The inspector has to sign off on it, which is an independent third party. They hand it back over to the insurance company, and the insurance company will then add that into their risk calculation when they start figuring out how much they want to charge you. That makes sense? So
Okay.
the
Well, that's good
wind
to know.
mitigation and the 4-point inspection are required in order for you to get insurance, which is also required in order for you to get a mortgage. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
that's helpful.
All right. So I want to make sure you know that those inspections with those in your private inspection are going to be roughly about $1,000 upfront, just so you know, that's the cost associated with that. Okay.
Okay.
Probably a little bit
Got it.
more than average. But again,
Yep.
when you start dealing with licensed professionals, that's just part of the process. The expense goes up. So that's one component that is super important to understand. Another thing that I want you to be aware of is in the state of Florida, your representation in this instance would be us. You reached out to me to help you purchase a home. Your representation in the state of Florida is a transaction broker. Now, I know I'm going to start using some jargon here and some buzzwords, but I promise you I'm going to break this down. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that the default mode in the state of Florida, Eric, is that a listing agent or a buyer representation, which again would be me in this case, don't have a fiduciary duty to you by default. And I
What does
bring
that
that
mean?
up. Yeah, great question. So that means that I don't have to necessarily share everything with you as long as it's not a non-disclosure issue, right? So let me give you an example. And where you purchased a home, I looked it up before you got online. Your buyer agent has a fiduciary duty to you by default in the state of Michigan, which means they're required to tell you everything about that transaction. If the listing agent comes to them and tells them that someone died in that home, Eric, your agent is now responsible to tell you that information. Does that make sense?
Yep.
In the state of Florida, that is not a requirement. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in $3 million or $1 million transactions with someone who doesn't personally have my best interest at heart. Is that how you operate, or would you prefer to have someone who's completely representing your interest?
I would prefer to have somebody that's going to tell me everything, so I don't make any mistakes.
Okay. In order for us to work together, right, you and I would have to sign a buyer representation agreement where I move into a single agent, which is how I would represent you with a fiduciary. Okay. So I just want you to be aware of that. The important part of what I'm sharing is the default, meaning that no one has to tell you that they don't have to tell you everything. That's how it works in Florida. That is a major difference than where you live now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Right. So, you know what I mean? Like if they know that, again, they have to share what's disclosed, but they don't have to share other things, right? If it's not a requirement to share that someone died in that house, which it's not, they don't have to tell you, right? So these are things that are important to know. Now, every state has their own rules. Like I understand that, but that is how it works here. Now, for us, the only way that I work with clients is as a fiduciary. I don't operate as a transaction broker. And the reason is because it goes against my beliefs and how I operate, right? I want to be represented to the full hilt as a person, as a human being, as a husband and a father. That is the service that I offer to you as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Perfect. All right. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page with that. Cool. So we talked a little bit about how real estate works. Okay. You asked me about insurance earlier. I want to get into that. You made a really good point about non-flood, non-evacuation zones. Those things are all important to lower the mitigation risk of your insurance. However, there is more to that. We just talked about the 4-point and the wind mitigation, right? When they go up there, they're going to tell you this roof has 15 years left on it, 20 years left on it. That's all going to go in the calculation of insurance that are going to affect what that house costs to you, right? What the actual cost, not the price is. Also, the thing that we don't know, Eric, is how many claims were made on that home so far from an insurance perspective. Now, why do I bring that up? Because during your due diligence phase here in the state of Florida, I want you getting your insurance quotes during that time period. Okay. Because that could dramatically affect your monthly number. Because if you find a home that you absolutely love, it passes 4-point, it passes WinMit, everything's beautiful there, right? We write an offer on it, we get under contract, and you're in due diligence at that point, and you find out that that person has made 3 claims on that home because the sewer backed up or the roof leaked at one point. Guess what the insurance company is going to do to that property? They're going to levy a heavy tax in the form of extra insurance costs to that property. And what I want you to be able to do is make that decision during that call. During your due diligence phase to make the decision whether you want to move forward or not. Right. Because I know when I was in Michigan, when I bought a home, that wasn't a concern of mine. So we got the insurance last thing before we closed. That was very normal where we lived. But here, Eric, that could be the difference between $3,500 a year in insurance and 10 grand.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right. So I want to make sure that you're doing that. Now, here's the other thing I want you to be aware of. Okay. When you write an offer, if the seller accepts, you're going to have earnest money that's going to be due to the seller, but it's going to the title agency. In the state of Florida, we're a title agency, right? We're a title agent state. That you have 2 days to get it to them. They're going to give you wire instructions. They're going to send it over. Here's what I want you to be aware of on this. Okay. You will never receive wire instructions via email from me or my team. And if you get wire instructions via email from the title agent, Eric, I want you to pick up the phone and call the title agent directly and validate it came from them, because title fraud is one of the number one things that happens in real estate where people lose money, and there's no getting that money back. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
that makes sense. Thanks for
I know
going
this is,
over that.
I know, and I know I'm throwing a ton at you, bro. Yeah. Forgive me. I know I'm not throwing a ton, but like this is where people get hurt. Right. So we want to make sure that. Now, the other thing I want you to be aware of, we write our offers on an as is contract here. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're purchasing the property as is. However, it also gives you a lot of flexibility as a buyer. Okay. Because the way that the as is contract is written here by the state attorneys is that the ability to move forward through a contract past due diligence is at the sole discretion of a buyer. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that you and you alone are the determining factor whether you will proceed with the purchase during the due diligence phase of a contract. That makes sense? So if you discover that Aunt Sally died in the house and you're no longer interested in purchasing it, you don't have to give them an explanation. You can cancel the contract, and the seller would be contractually obligated to refund your earnest money deposit. Okay. Now, we don't want anybody walking into contracts with the idea that they're trying to get out. You should be happy to write an offer. You want to move forward. But if we find something in the home, mold in the attic, things we can't overcome through negotiations, I want you in control of whether you're ready to move forward or not, right? Remember, this is not about us. This is your journey. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense.
Awesome. So those are some of the things that you brought up. CDD fees, that stands for Community Development District. Those are bonds. Those were the developer borrowed money from the county or the city to build that development at a low interest rate, right? And usually it's between 15 and 30 years. It can get cheaper over time once those are paid off. It can also go up in price. Depends on how the bond was written. That's something we want to get into when you're writing offers on community developments. Okay.
Okay,
HOA
that
fees.
makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. And those are usually the heavier ones. And I'm going to walk you through here in a second. The HOA fees are usually a lot lower than you're used to up north. I know that for a fact, but it's because the money just got moved. It got moved from the HOA to the CDD. Right. So you might only see $300 a quarter for all these lagoon pools and all that other stuff, virtually nothing. Right. Like, how's that work? But you could get hit with a $3,000 CDD fee if you're in Epperson, as an example. Right. Or if you choose not to get a lagoon community, maybe your CDD fee is as low as $1,800. That gets added onto your taxes at the end of the year. So you pay the HOA directly to the HOA. You pay the community development district fee back to the county. Remember, it's a tax levied, right? I'm sorry, it's a loan payment levied back from the county. So you'll get your taxes at the end of the year, which are prorated, right? You pay in arrears here in the state of Florida. Okay, so how do you pay taxes in Michigan? I thought I heard you say like twice a year. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we pay them in the rears as well.
So, but we're paying them one time. So you're going to get your tax bill at the end of the year, right? Homestead exemption. I'll walk you through the details on that also, but these are some of the nuances. That's how community development district fees work. We'll get into more details when we start talking about communities specifically, right? So we'll get into those things. All this making sense?
Yeah, no, super helpful. I appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. So I want to make sure we got into all that. All right. Now, from there, what the next thing is, the most common question we usually get, Eric, is how do we work together? Right. So especially for you guys, because you're going to be doing this at a distance, and there's several different ways we can help your team. Okay. So, and your family work through this and I'll tell you what most people do, and I'll give you the few options. We can do this completely sight unseen. Right. As you're well aware, I've spent the last 2.5 years documenting almost every square mile of this city. Right. It's a huge part of the reason why you're sitting in front of me today. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Would you say you got a fair education already to get started here?
Oh, the videos have been great. Super helpful, and yeah, no, really appreciate it.
Good, man. I appreciate the fact that you appreciate them as well. So that's one thing. But we can do this completely virtual. We have had clients buy houses sight unseen. I've done that. Now, here's the thing. I know, Eric, not everybody's wired for that, right? Some people have to see it. They have to touch it. They have to feel it, and that is okay. We want you to know that that is okay, and we can help you through that too. What we typically see people do is the hybrid model. And it starts like this, where you and I meet, we talk about all the things. You guys come down, you do some community shopping, right? We talk, I'll set up times for you to go look at new construction in the communities that we've talked about. Before you guys come in, we like to meet with you 2 days before your trip, help you build an itinerary, because you might have some things planned with family or whatever. You got 2 days at the 5 that I'm here to help me better understand this. We're going to give you everything, right? Where to go shop, where to go look, where to go have dinner. That way you can actually live in the community for a day or two and get a sense. Because Eric, as you're well aware, right, I can take the best house in the world, put it online on homes.com and make it look super fancy. But what you can't see is 4 doors down, Pookie and the boys are having a block party every single night, and there's cars on blocks out in the front of the road. Right?
Yeah, we don't want that. So
no, you don't want that.
That's definitely kind of what we envisioned is coming down there, spending some time, and appreciate, any of the recommendations you have for restaurants and places to stay while we're there. So that'd be helpful.
Yep. Totally understand, man. And that is the huge part of the benefit of you hiring us. That's what you're going to get in return. So when you go and you do that community shopping, most likely, Eric, you guys aren't going to find the one. And I don't want you to feel pressured to do it either. If you find the house that makes sense and all the timing lines up, great, write an offer. I'll let you know this is a good deal. You can wait. You're going to get a better deal on the back end, because I'm not worried about that. You're making the move. You've already made the decision. Right. And I don't want you to feel like I've only got a 48-hour window to find the perfect house. That's crazy talk, because that's not how it has to work. right? But if you find the one, great. I'll let you know. Yeah, hey, Juan, we're feeling this way. Great. Yeah, Eric, it's a fair deal. Make a run at it, right? But if it doesn't make sense, we'll tell you. If you're not ready, that's okay. I don't want you stressed about it, right? Because from those 2 days, what we want you to be able to do is say, we've narrowed it down to these 2 communities, or we've narrowed it down to this one. Once you tell me you know what community you want to be in, I'm a bird dog, man. I'm going to go get what you want, right? And what we can do is tour these homes virtually. You'll look at them through Zoom. Here's how I want you to treat that. You and Brianna will jump on that call. Me or a member of my team are going to take you through a tour. We're going to be your eyes, ears, and nose when it comes to that property. You two look at it as, can we live there? We're going to look and make sure that there's not mold around the caulking, make sure there's not leaking coming through the roof, all the stuff that you can't see. We're going to be your eyes and ears there, point out any of that stuff, right? We'll walk you around the exterior, the interior, however long that takes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, doesn't matter. After that, we're going to walk you up and down that street on Zoom so you can see who you're living next to, bud. Okay. And when that wraps up, we'll drive you around the communities, even take you over the community center so you guys can get a full scope. And if that makes sense, this is what we usually see our clients do. We'll write an offer, and then you can fly in during the inspection if you still want to see it. Validate your decision. Does this make sense for us? Absolutely. We love it. Or nope, this wasn't the one. And that is okay. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that sounds perfect.
Okay. Is that the way you'd prefer to do it? And again, there's always the sight unseen, or you can try to come down for a week.
We'll be in town.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do the showings in person.
Okay, perfect. We can do that too. All right. So the way that we work together, right? And for all of that, Eric, here's what I want you to understand about how real estate works here in Florida too. Okay. So as of today, here's how the money moves. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because we operate in full transparency, right? We started the call with this. I need you to understand what that actually means. Okay. The way that the real estate currently works in the state of Florida, and this could change. We're going through some things in our industry right now that are real, but the way that this works right now is a listing broker meets with a potential seller, right? Or the builder, right? In that scenario, but they meet with the listing broker. And then what they do is they negotiate a commission compensation, right? And then what happens is the listing broker will split a portion of that compensation with the buyer's broker. In this case, that would be us working for you. That makes sense? Is that how it works where you live now?
Yes. Yeah, I believe they do a co-op here as well.
When you purchased your home, was the buyer agent paid directly by the listing broker, or did you have to pay out of pocket at all?
They were paid directly by the listing broker. I don't think we came out of pocket for that at all.
Got it. So you're familiar with how that program works. So as of right now, that is how it works. A builder, right? Our builders offer cooperative compensation. They actually will offer compensation to us as well. Okay. But here's what I want you to know. Our fee to work for you, Eric, right? To give up our nights and weekends, to document this entire city from tip to tail is X%. Okay. That's what we charge. And y'all, I would give him the number here. I'm not giving it to you guys. So we can keep this up, right? Our fee is X%. Now, here's what I need you to know about how that cooperative broker relationship or the builder relationship works, Eric. We see anything from X% to Y%. Right. And if you've been nosing around on Zillow or homes.com, like you were saying, you can see how much they pay, right? You've seen that in the description down there.
Yeah, I think so. I think I've seen the commission on there.
Okay. All right. And as of right now, that's still up. That may change in the future. So I just want you to be aware of that. But as of right now, those things are still up. Now, here's what in my experience, here's what we are seeing. We're seeing anywhere from X% or Y% paid to us. But as we discussed before, my fee is blank percent. Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So just one question. So if the listing agent's offering X% and you're charging Y%, what happens to the difference if that doesn't match?
Great question. So let's do an example. Love the question. So here's how the process works. Okay. We're going to go look at houses. I don't want you to judge the house that you're viewing based upon whatever that number is. If it's the unicorn, it's the right house for you, I want you to go look at it. Okay. The first responsibility falls on me to try to negotiate that commission amount or my compensation amount from that listing broker. So in the event, let's just do an example. Let's do an actual example. Let's say you found an awesome house for $1 million. Okay. And they are paying X, but we get paid Y. All right. And let's say, as an example, that it is a $10,000 shortfall. Okay. What we're going to do first is we're going to write before we ever write the offer, we're going to come to you and say, hey, Eric and Brianna, just so you are aware, the listing broker is offering X, right? Our fee is Y. We're going to go try to negotiate this in this deal with the listing broker. In the event that that falls short, we will have to come back to you for the shortfall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, no, that sounds completely reasonable. I mean, everyone's got to get paid, right?
That's right. So I appreciate you that you agreeing to that. And just so you're aware, like I said, our goal here is to not have to be in that situation, but I don't want it to ever stop you from finding the right house. Right. So it is completely negotiable. I gave you our fee. We'll work on that if we have to. We'll come to you if we have to. And if we have to come to terms on something else, we could also do that. But you're sitting here today because you believe that I'm the right person to get you to the exact right house, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't have reached out unless we thought you guys were the right team to help us make this move. So really appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Well, I appreciate you reaching out too. So our next steps after we get off this call, we're going to set a time to get back together once you get your trip planned. Okay. When we're off this call, we're going to send you an agency agreement. All right. What that says is that we are working on your behalf as that fiduciary. Remember, we talked about earlier, right? Meaning that I have you as my primary interest, right? I'm working on your family's behalf to disclose everything in entirety, transparently and fully, right? We're going to send that agreement over, right? That agreement will last X time period, right? And again, we'll work through that at a per property necessity, whatever that comes up to be. But most importantly, we're going to be working together, right, to get you to that goal. And I want to leave you with this, Eric, lastly, is I'm going on my 12th year in real estate. And during that time period, I've never had a client have to move twice. And what I mean by that is they always end up in the house that they love, in a community they love, because we spent so much time talking about the lifestyle that we're talked about with you today, right? And we can talk about all the sales stats in the world, but I'm most proud of that one. In 11 and a half years, almost 12 years now, I have not had a client have to move twice because we have got them to the right community on the first try. And you are not going to be the first person to break that streak for me. So just know that you are in good hands, man. I'm going to treat you just like I would treat my brother and sister. I'm going to get you to the table. You're going to feel comfortable and confident by the end of that call. Or I'm sorry, by the end of your purchase. And I really look forward to serving your family, man. And like I said, thank you so much for choosing us. We couldn't be more appreciative of the opportunity. And we're so excited for the new life that you guys are about to start here in Tampa. So thanks for reaching out, man. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Nice meeting you. Finally, it feels like we absolutely know you from all your videos. So I know Brianna is excited to get down there and really appreciate the call today. It's been super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. Awesome. Okay. All right. Now this would be the end of the call, right? Next steps, all those things go into play there. I want to just circle back. We'll do some Q&A here with you guys. I want to circle back and walk you through where each one of those components happened that we talked about earlier. Y'all, here's what I want you to know. What we just showed you is not on trial, right? If I showed you the recordings, it is never a pushback. We don't get to that part of the conversation and people are trying to like wheel and deal. And that would be okay if they were. I wouldn't be upset about it, right? I'm in sales. I would ask people, right? But because we provided so much value up front, right? And because we were so focused on their ideal lifestyle and working through that, all of those barriers come down. This works with both sellers and buyers, y'all. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're playing on. This is how you get people to the same side of the table. This is how you help clients understand that you are the only right decision for them. This is how you overcome those obstacles.
We were gonna cover this in, you know, kind of my predictions on like how some things change in this, but we got a question in the chat which I think is fitting, to just touch on this. But if you do have questions about any of these components, we're going to dive into the mechanics here. Drop those in the chat.
Yep.
But somebody said, I feel like you're spending a lot of time with a buyer that has not signed the buyer's broker agency agreement yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this. We go on listing appointments, and listing appointments can take anywhere from an hour and a half if they're going really well, and you're kind of jiving and you're getting a list of things that need to go well, or need to be done to the home. And you're building rapport. All right. So spending 30 minutes to an hour with somebody, right, really showing and demonstrating your knowledge of the market, your knowledge of how real estate works. I think that is going to become the bare minimum for buyer agency representation in the future. No longer can you go and just show a house without getting one of these signed, and buyers are now going to ask when a piece of paper gets put in front of them, are you the right agent for me?
Yep.
Right. If I have to sign this and I'm committing, maybe I should rethink this. Maybe I should actually do some interviews before I go and do this. So spending this amount of time with it, I think is becoming the bare minimum. All right. Get used to, having them. And now it's the agents that are really going to win, that because these calls are so easy. The call that we just went through is so warm and welcoming, is because of the value that we put up front. Right. Can you imagine, the business models where you have to go demonstrate your worth to somebody that doesn't even know you yet? And there's a ton of, and there's agents here that are listening right now that, have probably made a business off of Zillow, realtor.com, all these online platforms where it was the go and show mentality. So now it becomes even more important to value stack what we've just put into this buyer's agency representation call into a more condensed version of like, how do you say, yes, I'm interviewing you, or we're going to interview, and go through that whole entire value prop, and then say all the things that we just said about the community and demonstrating like it. You're going to have to earn it more is really at the end of the day what this boils down to. So I think the 30 to 45 minutes on the call, bare minimum building rapport. So we do with sellers all the time. There's no difference.
Yeah, this is, and I knew this is where this would lead to, and that's okay, right? Because I started this entire call today, and I know we're super long, so y'all, I'm proud of everybody who stuck through this, because the thing I started this entire call with is people that come to us already know and recognize our value. I've built a machine. Eric and I have built a machine that attracts our ideal client. Okay. That is super important to know. And why is that important? Because when you see comments like this, right? So Miss Dolores, wonderful question, by the way. And she's a freaking sweetheart for those of you guys that don't know. One of the best human beings in the world. That is a great question. Miss Dolores, we currently aren't attracting those clients. Okay. And I'm not telling you guys I'm not working with those clients. I'm just telling you guys that we don't attract those clients. Right? We attract clients who have the ability and have the means to do the thing, and don't try to rationalize or justify our value in order to get their thing done. They're calling me because they know that I can help them achieve the ideal lifestyle, not because I can sell them a house. And I started this conversation with that, y'all. I'm telling you right now, in this new world you're about to roll into, that is going to be one of the most valuable things you can do for your business. Because if you are playing the contact sport at point of sale, it's going to be a race to the bottom, because I assure you someone else is going to do that work for 1%. And for a percentage. Gosh, dog.
For some percent.
Some
Yeah,
percentage.
and I was actually just talking about this with somebody in the mortgage industry the other day, and we were just kind of like spitballing of like, hey, what do you think is going to happen, to the conversation between or listing agents going to get more business because of it, or buyers agents going to fall out of the industry, and there's so much that can happen here, right?
Mhm.
And I think the one thing that we as an industry need to really maintain, the level head on, is that buyers and sellers still need representation. Okay, commissions are 100% negotiable on both sides. Okay. Those are facts. Okay. That's not debatable at all. Those are facts. Now, when it comes to the buyer's agent's representation, it's now going to become your duty to explain how these things work. And Dolores, although it's a great question, I would spin that around and say, if the buyer is working with you, for the right reasons, is because you've explained to them that the commission is 100% negotiable, explaining the mechanics of how payouts work, if a seller is offering a commission, if they're not, what your fee is, right? That's all explainable. But you also need to explain that there are 4 or 5 different scenarios that could take place with this. A
Yep.
seller could be offering a full, my full commission. A seller could be offering a portion of my commission. We could negotiate that into the offer, right? That could come in the form of seller concessions. All of those things are now on the table, right? The person that can explain that very succinctly to the buyer and let them know, like Juan did, hey, my first priority is to negotiate this into the offer, right? We're not going to come back and ask you for this if we don't have to, if we can already negotiate it in when the offer. Now, in a competitive market, 100%, that gets a little bit more difficult to do, to stand out, right? So there will be agents that start utilizing this as a bargaining chip. Will agents do it for less? Sure. Right. But that's always been the case. I know dozens of agents that have sacrificed commissions to help their clients win offers, right? Because they wanted to see their clients win so badly. And that was even before this whole entire thing started. So, you know, providing the upfront transparency, is the main thing. And then how you position that to the buyer, to let them know these are all the different options. If you don't have to cover that full fee, I'm not going to ask you for it. And at the end of the day, it's at my sole discretion to exercise that. If there is a fee that I think is fair for that house, that I would accept and not make you come out of pocket for it, I'm at full discretion to make that call as a business owner.
Yep.
And my brokerage supports that.
Yep.
All right. They can't tell me yes or no.
Yep. So real quick, guys, I want to deliver on some promises that I made. Okay, so we're gonna take Q&A here until you guys wear out, which is totally fine. But if you're watching this and you've already been with us for almost 2 hours, great work, congratulations, proud of you guys. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to share this with you guys really quick. So I have this entire outline built in my Notion database. Okay. And it not only is it's every step. Now, this is more than the 6 you saw. The 6 on that screen were the principles. Okay. But on here, greeting, rapport, the big promise, learning questions. There's even scripted questions in here. My goal was not to turn people into robots, y'all, but these are prompts that help people. Okay, these are here to help you. Buyer's packet, you are here, must haves. I got everything in here. All the stuff that you saw me do that was nuanced. Again, there's my unicorn, right? That was nuanced. That is actually a checkpoint race for me. I know the steps of it back and forth. I have this built out. I would like to share it with anybody who wants a copy of it. Okay. I'm making a generic one. I'm going to send that out via my newsletter this week. Okay. I will send that out to anyone who wants it. If you just go to juanalcala.com and subscribe to my newsletter, I will send that to you there. Okay. That will be in your email inbox. You'll have it forever. Okay. So just go there. Everybody with me? Want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to grab that. Okay, so put it in there. I'll send that out via my newsletter this week. You will have a copy of that entire outline from tip to tail, question prompts, the whole thing. All right, because I want to give people something that they can use. Make it your own, please. Right? You don't need to be a clone, and your businesses are different. I already know that, but make sure you take the time to do that because you're going to want to do that. And I'm going to get into some more questions here really quick. So that's the first thing, just so everybody knows. Number one. Number two, if you want to learn how we attract those types of clients, Eric and I offer a membership to our content club. We attract business through content. You guys are more than welcome to come join that. We'll put that information in here too. Okay. And you can go check the link out. If it's for you, join us. If not, great. We teach everybody everything we know on how to get these clients to us inside of Content Club. If you're already a member, congratulations. You guys already know. All right, for those of you that aren't. Okay, let's get it back into the questions. Remember, juanalcala.com. And then Eric, if you don't mind, put up another banner with that and the link to Content Club so those guys can get what they need. Let me get back to the questions here really quick because we had some really good questions and I don't want to skip them. Okay, moving to Charlotte has a question. Says, how long are these appointments expected to take? How long are they slotted for in Calendly? Great question. So here's where they are. They on average last about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how many questions the clients have. So I slot them in Calendly for 45, but I give myself a 30-minute buffer on both sides. So I have that in there. And it really depends on it, but rarely ever do I finish before 45 minutes. And I know that I talk a lot, y'all, but we're usually talking a lot with them, right? Their concerns, neighborhoods. We're deep in the weeds, right? Deep in the weeds on that stuff, and we get through it. So I would take an hour in Calendly. You'll be able to figure that out from there. If you're short, great. If you're a little bit long, then you give yourself a buffer. You're good on that end. Nina says, so much value. Thank you for doing this. Love the idea of the map presentation. Even, I'm telling you, in real life, pull out the map. Ask them this. Guys, I don't know if you caught the Zillow question. What properties are you looking at? Game changer. I don't ask budget and stuff like that because they show me, right? We don't talk about money. I ask them to tell me what they want their lifestyle to look like, and then we work in reverse from there, right? So you can do that in real time. Even at listing appointments, I don't build comps and bring them to the space. I build my comps in real time at the dinner table with listing clients. It's a game changer also, right? So just a heads up on that. Christine Godwin, so much value on this call as always. Yep, you're welcome. Thank you for that. Quality over quantity based on the services we provide. Report building. Amen. This is it's a principle going back to the principles, right? North Fork, Virginia says, Juan and Eric, great training. Can you share the questionnaire you use when the buyer sets the appointment? Great. Thank you for bringing that up. I knew we were going to forget something. Yeah, Eric will show you that in a second here, guys, for sure. Love that. Joel Grossman says, Connecticut has required written buyer representation for almost 20 years. Yeah, and not every state does, right, Joel? Like Florida does not require it. Or a transaction broker, there's no need to. The default in this state is you don't have a fiduciary, right? So it's not a requirement, but we all know that's going to change here in a minute, right? So great point, right? Great point. Sandy says, love it. Michelle said, thank you. You are welcome, of course. Lots of thank you. Love that. Meryl says, thank you. You're welcome. Eric was here, y'all. He did the hard work. He's the one pretending to be the client. Julie says, thank you. You're welcome. Yes, of course, we'll send. Copy. Yep, send the copy. Eric put the link to Content Club in the chat. So for those of you guys who want to learn what Content Club is all about, you can go check it out there. Let me see here. Do you demonstrate how you roll in? No, I only do. Yeah, that's such a good question. Eric was alluding to this earlier. I only go as far as the clients need, y'all. Okay, let me just, I want to stop here for a second. You don't have to answer all the questions that you have in your mind. All right. We only need to answer all of the questions that the clients have in their mind and to be transparent. Right. So we don't need to get into, I told them what my percentage was. And then I run the scenario just like I showed you guys. I'll actually run it off a property. If they showed me a property earlier, I take note of that. It's another reason why I asked for that. If they show me a property they love and I know currently it's offering less compensation than we ask for, then I'll bring that specific property up and run that scenario in real time. That way they can see it. But I don't go any further than I need to. I will try to negotiate that, right? I just tell them I'll fight for our compensation there. In the event that that does not happen, we have to come to you to make it whole. Does that sound fair? I hope you guys caught that language. I didn't ask them if they liked it. I don't like it, right? What I asked is, does it sound fair? Because people will tell you, I don't move forward beyond that. Those words, wait, we just sit there and wait till they give a response. Almost everybody says yes immediately, and then they follow it up with exactly what Eric said. No one's going to work for free. Everybody deserves to get paid. They say that. He used their words. They say it all the time. So great question. I think you wanted Eric. Love that. Thank you for your insight into questions and for doing this today. You are welcome, y'all. Great content today. I have to run. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Thank you so much. Both greatly appreciate it. Oh, and if you're not subscribed on YouTube, please, I didn't ask that earlier. I would love your follow on YouTube. That would be amazing. Because I'm going to continue to do more stuff like this, just so you all know. Eric and I are both committed to do that. Are you emailing what you referenced before? Yes, Julie, I will send that out. You will have access to it, of course. Thank you both. You got it. Thank you. Yes. I know we were doing buyer presentations, but much has changed with your listing presentation. No. The only thing that changes is we talk a little bit more about marketing and the benefits of market. The positioning that I'm using on this, Denise, moving forward, is this is an investment in marketing to our sellers. Hopefully that makes sense, right? You're not paying somebody to work against you. You're actually paying someone to help your buyer get to the closing table, because that's where things fall apart. Great question. Love it. We'll send you a DM afterwards. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Of course, guys.
Let's circle back to the questions that we asked before they get to that appointment.
Yep.
All right. And this is actually a copy of our Calendly. We've optimized these to ask these questions ahead of time. So we're qualifying for the calls. So when we wanted to mention in the beginning, when we get on those calls, we know, exactly what the questions or the answers are to these questions. And we ask them, are you buying, selling, or renting? What's your ideal buying time frame? What's your budget? Do you have a mortgage pre-approval letter? And we give them some options. No, I'm paying cash. Not yet, but I like to speak with a trusted lender in Michigan. And then we ask the magic question is, please share anything that will help us prepare for the meeting. All right. This is where we typically see people just spew. All right. This is where they're telling us, we're moving to Tampa because we got a job relocation. We have to be there at X date. This is what we're looking for. We want good schools. We want, safe neighborhoods. Here's my kids' social security numbers. Here's, my grandparents' social security numbers, all of the things. Right. And I'm kidding about the social security numbers, but they're opening up and just divulging as much information as they can in this. So this prereq, to it of driving people to, and again, we've optimized this funnel to let people know this is where you go to book a call with us if you want to have a conversation. Now, we still get people that reach out via email and text because we also use those as call to actions in the videos, which is great. But once they reach out via call or text, we are automatically, turning that conversation into a couple of responses back and forth before we say, hey, awesome, thanks for the information. Best way and best next steps is to hop on a Zoom call. Let us take you through the city in our eyes using Google Maps. We'll answer any of your questions, any burning questions that you have. Here's the Calendly link. Book a time that makes sense for you and the missus or the Mr., whoever, we're talking to. And we're alluding to the fact, like, bring both decision makers, right? Bring both people who are making the decision here, on the call. So that's been super helpful, game changer into this. We got automation set up to bring this into the CRM, but that's not what the call's here today for.
We'll have Eric teach you guys that another day. We knew this was going to be meaty, right? And guys, I again got on this call. I keep saying that I'm not your guru, and I only say that because I don't want people to sit here and think like we're puffing our chest, because like we haven't arrived anywhere, right? We genuinely love real estate. We love serving people. We are rewarded handsomely for the work that we do, but we have distinguished ourselves in our marketplace. I know that to be true because I get come list me's because of my visibility. I get builders asking me to come document their products because of our visibility, right? And we get clients who don't question our value because of our visibility. And I'm sharing that with you because that is the real work in real estate, y'all. It's not figuring out what to say in a conversation. All of you have the sales skills already. What most of you don't have is a machine to bring these opportunities to you on a regular basis. And I can't fix that for you, but all of you have the ability to do that. I just want you to know that, right? And I'm telling you, point of contact, buyer transactions in the future, that is a space where you do not want to be trying to operate out of. The go and show, that's what Eric called it, right? That go and show is going to be an expensive environment. An expensive environment, right? People are going to treat you most likely in a discounted manner, right? And I'm not even talking about the compensation, right? Just, hey, you're a tool, go do the thing. I don't want to be in that environment. And I know most people don't either. That's why they love listings. You're the lever, right? Like you've got the lever in your hand. That's why listing is attractive. But if you build a machine that brings you opportunity, that wants to work with you because of the value that you provide, they will all treat you that way. Doesn't matter what side of the fence they're on. Representation is representation. That is the place where you want to live. You want people to desire to be represented by you. That's all. And you've got to do the work to get them to that point. Cool. Eric, is there anything I didn't deliver on in terms of promise? I made promises to y'all. Okay. So going back
to the news, register for the newsletter. You'll get the script in your inbox. Not the script, but the outline of how we go through the buyer's representation, right? The outline of the steps. We'll call it our steps of service for the buyer's agency consultation. You know, that's our steps.
Yep.
And then, yeah, if you guys want to learn how to do exactly this, right, to build this machine, right, to foolproof your business, you know, for years to come, right, join us in Content Club. All right, we're teaching exactly how to do this. You know, this is video-based business, where it's actually getting people to raise their hand and say, I want to work with you. Right. This is utopia for every real estate agent. It's changed our lives, changed our business. So, you know, hop in there. We're teaching exactly as much value as we provided and more in Content Club every single week.
Yep. And this will live on YouTube. I made that mistake. I'll see if I can cut it out. I'd love to cut that out because I made that freaking mistake. Hey, you guys know where I'm at. Like I said, follow us on Instagram, connect with us wherever. We'll give you what time we can. We love pouring into the community. We're proud to be real estate professionals. We're advocate for real estate professionals. What you guys do matters. It matters a lot. We're walking into a time period where things are going to change, right? You can either be the change or you can watch it happen. That's basically how this is going to work. So get your butt to work. Make sure you're providing value to clients. Get out in front of them and just go win in real estate, y'all. Hope you guys have an incredible rest of your week. Have an awesome Monday, and we'll see you again sometime soon. God bless y'all.